Hello basketball fans, my name is Jamel Crothers. It's the 2008 NBA playoffs. Today we're going to discuss the series preview of the Detroit Pistons and the Orlando Magic. Dwight Howard, well, guess what? He had a dominant series against the Toronto Raptors in 5 games. 3 of those games were at least 20 points and 20 rebounds. And he also was doing a whole lot of shot blocking in that series. Now he is going to get his shot blocking in the series, obviously, but you know what? His point production and his rebound production is going to be key in this series. But the Detroit Pistons have 5 guys that can match up against him and 30 fouls to give. They have Rasheed Wallace, Antonio McDyess, Jason Maxiell, Amir Johnson, and Theo Ratliff to match up against Dwight Howard. So Dwight Howard's going to get a lot of different bodies, a lot of physicality, and a lot of different looks from the Detroit Pistons in this series. But the difference is that Dwight Howard this year is a better passer out of the post. And when he gets doubled, he's able to find the open man. And I think that's going to be a difference in this series because last year he was not able to do that, and he did have a lot of turnovers. The defensive matchups. Let's get to that because Tayshaun Prince is probably going to be the biggest difference in this series as far as defense goes. He's either going to guard Hedo Turkoglu or Rashard Lewis. I'm going to take a good guess at he's going to be guarding Hedo Turkoglu most of this series. Why? Because Hedo Turkoglu is more of a dynamic scorer. He can drive to the basket. He can shoot. He's more of a playmaker, and he's going to be the guy that brings the ball up the court most of the time. What I saw in the Toronto series is Hedo Turkoglu would bring the ball up most of the time and give Keon Dooling and Jameer Nelson a break off from bringing the ball up the court. Hedo Turkoglu is 6'10". He can drive, and he can probably dish out to a lot of different players and get a lot of guys open off his ability to dribble the ball. So Tayshaun Prince at 6'9" and his long arms, he's going to be able to probably disrupt Hedo Turkoglu and his passing and what he can do as far as shooting the ball. So I think that's going to be a very, very big key matchup in this series. My concerns for the Orlando Magic is whether their backcourt can match up against Detroit's backcourt. Jameer Nelson and Keith Bogans going against Chauncey Billups and Rip Hamilton, which is probably one of the biggest backcourts in the NBA right now. Chauncey Billups is going to have a clear advantage in this series. He's probably going to come out and pose Jameer Nelson early on in this series, make Jameer play defense. Chauncey is 6'3", 215 pounds. Jameer Nelson is 5'10" and 190 pounds. That is a major difference in height and weight in this series. So Chauncey Billups is probably going to be the guy that has a bigger series because last series he was getting guarded by Andre Miller, he's pretty much the same size. Rip Hamilton, he had Willie Green and Lewis Williams chasing him off screens. Those guys are pretty much the same size as Rip Hamilton. So, in this series, the backcourt is probably going to go to the Detroit Pistons. But Jameer Nelson and Keith Bogans still have to be guys that step up and score the basketball. Bench production. I think this is probably what's going to determine this series the most. Bench production with Jason Maxiell or Antonio McDyess, depending on what Flip Saunders wants to do as far as who he's going to bring off the bench and who's going to start. You have Rodney Stuckey, who's going to give Chauncey Billups time to rest on the bench, his ability to push the ball in transition and get to the basket and get guys in foul trouble. He's going to be a difference. And I think Jarvis Hayes is probably going to be a difference in this series also, with his ability to shoot the ball and be able to drive to the basket and get some fouls and get some free throws. Keon Dooling is probably Orlando's only potent offensive scorer off the bench. So I think that Detroit has the clear advantage as far as that goes. At the end of the day, I feel that Detroit's going to be able to win this series in 6 games because Philadelphia gave them a run for their money. I think Detroit is woken up, and I think Chauncey Billups is going to be able to have a stronger